I never imagined I'd be in a position like this. I've always tried to do the right thing, married young, raised my daughter, kept the home together. When I married my husband 6 years ago, I thought I was finally getting the stability I deserved. He was older, responsible, successful, but I didn't realize until much later that presence matters more than provision. He was always away, conferences, late nights, constant travel. I convinced myself it was temporary, that I should be grateful. But nights alone turned into months of feeling invisible. Then his son moved in. My stepson. He had just graduated and needed a place to stay while figuring things out. I welcomed him sincerely, saw it as a chance to build some connection in this patchwork family. At first, it was casual, just small talk and occasional help around the house. But he noticed things, like the leaky kitchen tap that had been dripping for weeks, or the cabinet door that always stuck. My husband used to promise he'd fix those, but never did. One day, without asking, my stepson just fixed them. Said it wasn't a big deal. But it was. Someone saw the cracks and cared enough to fix them. I started asking him for help more often. Not because I couldn't do things myself, but because he always showed up. We started spending time together, not in any inappropriate way. Just quiet company in a house that always felt so loud in its silence. I'd cook dinner, he'd clean up. Sometimes we'd talk about books or movies. Other times we'd sit in silence, both tired but content. I told myself it was harmless. That I was just happy to feel seen, for once. But part of me knew something was shifting. I just didn't want to admit it. It started changing slowly, almost without me noticing. He began anticipating things before I even asked, bringing in groceries, checking on the car, fixing little things I had stopped mentioning. There was a warmth in him I hadn't felt in years. Not forced, not performative. Just there. He asked how my day was, remembered things I said in passing, laughed at my dry humor. My husband, meanwhile, had become a stranger. His texts were dry, his calls rushed. He'd forget what we talked about the day before, sometimes forget to call at all. I stopped waiting up. My stepson noticed my birthday was coming. I had stopped caring about those. My husband never remembered the date. But that morning, my stepson left a small gift on the kitchen counter. A candle in my favorite scent. I hadn't mentioned it in months. When I asked how he remembered, he just smiled and said, "You lit it every Sunday in spring." That hit something in me. I didn't cry then. I waited until he left the room. Later that night, he found me in the laundry room wiping my eyes. He didn't say a word, just wrapped his arms around me. I should have pulled away. I didn't. I felt the pressure of his chest against mine, his warmth, his breath steady. It was just a hug, but everything in my body reacted. It had been years since someone held me without agenda. Years since I felt like I mattered without having to earn it. When he let go, I thanked him quietly and went to my room. But the moment stayed with me. I replayed it in my head like a scene from a film I wasn't supposed to watch. I told myself it was nothing. That I just needed comfort. But I wasn't sure I believed that. It all unraveled the night my husband called and told me he was extending his trip, again. No apology, no explanation. Just a dry statement followed by silence. I hung up without saying much. I sat in the dark for a long time, trying not to feel anything, but the weight of it pressed down too hard. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired, tired of being ignored, of holding everything together alone, of pretending I was okay. I didn't hear him come in, but my stepson saw me there and asked if I was all right. I didn't answer. I couldn't. He sat beside me, close but careful. I felt his presence like a current pulling me in. When I finally looked at him, I wasn't thinking clearly. I just whispered, "I'm so tired of this." He didn't respond, but his hand brushed mine. I didn't move. It was a quiet invitation neither of us said aloud. Then he kissed me. Soft. Hesitant. I didn't stop him. I should have. I knew it. But I didn't. I let it happen. All of it. I didn't think about the fallout or the betrayal or the damage it would cause. I just wanted to feel again. And for the first time in years, I did. The next morning, we couldn't even look at each other. He left early. I sat in the kitchen like a stranger in my own house, replaying everything. I told myself it was a one-time mistake, a moment of weakness. But a few days later, it happened again. No excuses this time. No grief to hide behind. It wasn't about the loneliness anymore, it was something deeper, messier. I stopped answering my husband's calls. I started living for the moments my stepson walked through the door. I knew it couldn't last, but I wasn't ready to stop. I let myself believe it meant something. That he felt what I felt. The way he looked at me, the softness in his voice, the way he stayed close after, it all felt too intentional to be casual. So when I told him one evening that maybe we didn't have to keep this a secret, that maybe we could figure out what this was, his reaction shattered everything. He pulled away instantly, said this wasn't supposed to be serious, that he was actually seeing someone his age. I stood there, stunned. I asked if it meant nothing to him. He said it was complicated. That was all. The next few days were tense. He avoided me, left the house more often, barely spoke. I felt foolish, used, but I still wasn't prepared for what came next. My husband came home early. No warning, no heads up. He walked in and felt it immediately, something was off. He didn't say anything that night, but I could see it in his eyes. The next morning, he found my phone on the counter. I had been careless, left messages open I thought I'd deleted. He didn't yell, he didn't ask. He just looked at me with the coldest expression I've ever seen and said, "I want you out." My stepson didn't say a word. He left 2 days later. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone.